dear friends, how are you doing? Sorry for not posting the episode yesterday. Well, all this time I've been having a terrible toothache. Now it's slightly better. Alright, excuses. There should be no excuses for not posting an episode of Lilia's Sunday podcast up on Sunday, you might say. And you'll be 100% right. Whatever's going on with you and your mouth, the podcast must be here. Right, so let's get into the podcast, basically. So I've got quite a few downloads recently, here and there. A few likes on Facebook and VK. Quite a few plays on Podomatic. Thank you all, dear listeners. I'm feeling delighted when I get those views and downloads from you. I just feel on top of the world when I get them, and when I see the statistics. I'm so happy that you keep listening to Lilia's Sunday podcast. In this podcast, again, I'm going to give you a little tip on how to learn English more efficiently, yeah? It's very simple again, nothing way too difficult. I think we discussed it in one of the recent podcasts. As usual, I'll start with a short intro. You might want to skip this rubbish, yeah, but I highly recommend listening to the whole podcast to get the idea better, right? So I do recommend that you listen to the whole podcast, right? Because you might miss some important info that I'll be giving in the podcast by the moment we get to the end of the podcast, right? Okay. Right, so many people think that you can't reach your goal without lots of struggling. Yeah, basically I'm sounding like a life coach or something like that. But really, yeah, for most people, in terms of learning English, struggling involves lots of grammar books, endless rules, listening and repeating after a monotonous speaker's voice on a tape, translating every single lexical bit and keeping record of already learned items in a thick notebook. Some of my students love this approach. They have fun using it, and yes, it works for them. So what's the reason why it doesn't work for you, right? For others, okay? Well, I think if it did work for you, you wouldn't be listening to the podcast, right? You'd be just enjoying your personal way of learning English, and you'd get on with it just every day, right? You'd improve your level of English all the time. I've just given you the reason why it might not work. You must enjoy the process. If you're a grammar book type of person, then this way of learning that I described above would suit you, right? But if you hate all grammar in the world, you won't get much using this approach. You'll simply waste your time. It's extremely important to find the way of learning English that you personally enjoy. I bet there are plenty of things you like in a first language. So why not transfer this into English? In this podcast, I'm going to give you a list of some websites to have a look at and choose and download things on topics you like. Right, so the first website is YouTube, of course. Right, so youtube.com. I think you know this website, of course you do. Right, it provides you with millions of videos brought to you by various people. You could choose history, computers, space exploration, just whatever you want. There is a lovely series of videos filmed in a taxi when the driver is giving his passengers a ride. I just adore their proper London accent. It's just fantastic. I just listen for that kind of accent. It is a great series. You should watch it. I highly recommend it. Right. Okay, so here is the second website where you can go to learn English and find things that you personally like. It is BBC Radio Podcasts. The address of the website is http://bbc.co.uk/podcasts. Right, so there you can find dozens of topics that you may choose from. And I really recommend this website because you don't have to tie yourself to a link to a topic that you don't really like. In lots of course books, you can see topics like like environment, right? Something like health, Yeah, just traveling. Well, most students love traveling, but this is not something that you should study, like, just all the time when you're learning English, right? There are lots of other topics available. So this is the website where you can go to explore millions of topics. Right, okay, maybe not millions, yeah, but you could just explore, go and explore whatever topics you'd like. You can sort them by categories and find a category that you feel interests you most. Right, okay. And the final tip here is don't listen to people who tell you how to learn English. Except for Lilia's Sunday podcast, of course. But go and do it, right? Do it by trial and error. Don't spend hours listening to coaches. Work out what works best for you and do it. There is no single way to learn English. Everybody has their own one. So experiment, yeah? Experiments are always a nice way to discover something new, aren't they? So, right, that's about it, guys. That's about it for this episode of Lilia's Sunday podcast. Well, this is basically an episode of Lilia's Monday podcast because, I screw up a little bit and I'm actually recording this on Monday, not on Sunday. Yeah, and I'm still feeling a little bit under the weather. So, right, I hope you enjoyed it. Speak to you next Sunday. Have a lovely week, right? Don't get really stressed out just because it's Monday today, right? You have all of the rest of the week to do lots of things that you've already planned, right? So to get on with your plans. Okay, great, guys. I've noticed that podcasts are becoming shorter, right? You may have noticed that as well. What I hope I'll be trying to fit as much information into the podcast as I could in a shorter period of time, because if a podcast is very long, you may stop listening to it because you might think that I'm talking rubbish all the time, like now, basically, right? But, I think that I really need those, like, interconnecting bits, right, to display all my thoughts in a connected way, right? Like through some links. Right, okay, great, guys. Thanks a lot. Someone's messaging me on Facebook, right? And again, sorry about that. Yeah, okay, guys. Bye-bye. Speak to you next Sunday. Have a great week. Bye.